Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today we are doing my most disappointing reads of 2019. So I had a fantastic reading year in 2019, not gonna lie, but of course there were some disappointing books that I really do wish to talk about with you guys. So we're just gonna get the first two out of the way that I don't really have strong feelings for, but I still wanted to include them because, you know, they still were disappointments. Number 5 is going to be Romanoff by Nadine Brands. Now this one was a DNF. I didn't end up finishing this one, but I was severely disappointed because this was one of my most highly anticipated reads of the year. It is a historical fantasy, which is a trend that I'm very excited to see pick up. This is following Anastasia Romanoff, who is one of the lost princesses in history. I'm sure you guys know about Anastasia from the popular movie. It follows Anastasia as she is trying to take her brother Nikolai to find her parents because the Bolsheviks came to their little cabin where her family and her were hiding, and they took her family away, but her father told her or left her this piece. I think it was like a piece of a map, something like that. Like I said, I DNF'd this and I read it at the beginning of the year, so I don't remember the details much. I assume it had something to do with his innocence. I don't really know. I just know that the writing was super weak in this. The plot was not a great time. It was a romance between Anastasia and a Bolshevik soldier, and that just seems a little messy to me. It was a disappointment, so that's why it's on this list. The next book on this list is a disappointment because of the other atrocity that it was, and that is Unpregnant by, I don't even know who the authors were, but they'll be on the screen. This book was another one of my highly anticipated releases because this book is about a girl who has to cross state lines in order to get an abortion because it is illegal in her state, and it tried to take more of a comedic route to such a horrible circumstance. I really liked the idea of that because I'm not a person who's a big fan of like hard-hitting subjects, but if that hard-hitting subject is delivered to me in a more comedic or light-hearted way while still staying true to the seriousness of that. A great example of this is Let's Call the Doomsday by Katie Henry. This just was not done tastefully in any way possible though. Part of the reason why I hated this book so much and why I DNF'd it almost immediately is because and this is on my part, I didn't know that the boyfriend poked holes in the condom and that's how the main character was pregnant. It's not the fact that I don't think that that happens. I totally think that happens and it's an unfortunate circumstance. My thing was just the way in which this book was written was so surface level and insulting, honestly. Imagine like a script for a cheesy Disney Channel movie and trying to talk about serious things about like abortion. It was not done tastefully, and these authors just did not have the skill, they didn't have the nuance to do it properly in my opinion. And also a man was involved in writing this, and I'm sorry you can not like what I have to say, but I just don't think a man should have anything to do with abortion stories. I don't think they have any right to be involved in a story like this. So that made me uncomfortable. I don't know how much he played a part in the book, but the fact that his name is on the cover, it just, it wasn't good. Now we're getting into the top 3 most disappointing reads of the year, and the number 3 spot goes to Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. Now, did I know that I wasn't going to like the ending of this trilogy before I even picked up the first book? Yes, I did. But did it make it any more painful when I saw the beautiful Alina Starkov become a housewife? No. It really just shook me to my core and made me very sad. And depressed. This is the final book in the Grisha trilogy. I'm sure you guys know about it. I'm sure you guys read it, and if you don't read it, then I'm sure you aren't interested in it. Spoiler alert for my most surprising reads of 2019, Shadow and Bone, and really this whole trilogy in general, is on my most surprising list of 2019. So, I know it's kind of counterproductive that this is also on my disappointing, but if you know how this ends, it shouldn't be all that surprising that it's on my disappointing list. I had so much higher expectations for Alina. She just deserved so much more than what she got in this book. I'm gonna go into spoilers now because I can't really talk about this book and why it's so disappointing without spoilers. So spoilers on the screen, just mute it until it goes away. I hate Mal. Everybody knows this. If you don't, hello, welcome. My personality trait is that I hate Mal. He does not go through the character development that Leigh Bardugo makes you think he goes through. If you guys want a deep dive into why Mal is so horrible, let me know down below because I will happily oblige. Because the shit that he does in Shadow and Bone, and especially Siege and Storm, and the direct quotes I can pull from, I have receipts. In juxtaposition to the Mal in this book, and how he acts like he apologizes and Leigh Bardugo makes it seem like he was redeemed when he really wasn't. He talks about in here how he always loved Alina. No. That's bullshit because there's a direct quote from Shadow and Bone where he talks about never noticing Alina until she was gone or something like that. So that doesn't add up. His fake ass apologies in here, I just don't think he apologized enough to justify the actions that he did and to justify me or Alina or anybody to forgive him. Could it have been done? Absolutely, and I would have been more open to it if he got more of a redemption and actually took accountability more so from his actions rather than Leigh Bardugo trying to just backtrack on his behavior in previous books and just try to act like it didn't happen, because it happened. I remember. I don't actively look out to hate Mal. Actually, if you look back on my Shadow and Bone vlog, I said specifically that I wanted to be a Mal stan just so I could be unpopular and controversial. So I actually went into the series wanting to love him. It didn't happen because I have sense and logic, but it was there. Anyways, aside from Mal, him getting together with Alina isn't the basis of why this is on my list entirely. I knew they were endgame. I love Alina so much and I loved her character, and just seeing her happy, the ending wasn't all that terrible. If I looked into it through that lens and through her happiness, I was able to be happy for her. My disappointment was the end, like, climax scene. I thought it was just really weak. I thought the Darkling's death was just the end battle scene was just Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm both had epic end battle scenes. This one was so weak. I hated the fact that Nikolai was taken out of the story for half the book, and the only reason he was created as that monster was because Leigh Bardugo had to take Nikolai out of the story, because everyone knew, even Leigh Bardugo, that Nikolai and Alina made way more sense than Mal did, so she had to take him out of the story, and that's just cheap. That's not good storytelling in my opinion. It sucks because it started off so well. Like, the first half of this book is great, and I still do love this trilogy. Don't get me wrong, I still do love this trilogy and I had such an amazing time reading it, but I couldn't help but be disappointed with how this ended. Alina just had so much potential, and the fact that she also lost all of her magic, like, that sucks. It really does. I understand in the context of her character, she never wanted the power to begin with. She was never a power-hungry character, despite me wanting her to be constantly. I understand that that's just not her character. She could have at least kept her power, you know? So that's why it's on this list. Now, the second most disappointing read of the year is one that's going to probably upset a lot of people. That is The Wicked King by Holly Black. If you want to see my thoughts on this, go check out my reading vlog. I have that linked up above. I loved The Cruel Prince. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Loved the ambition. Loved the political intrigue. Loved the plot. Loved the atmosphere. Loved the writing. Loved the sexual tension between Jude and Cardan. Everything was amazing in The Cruel Prince. Not a single aspect of what I loved about The Cruel Prince is in The Wicked King. The writing isn't as good. The plot is not fleshed out. It is so underdeveloped, it's sad. Jude remains stagnant throughout the whole thing. Nothing is contributed to the story. Nothing. Like I talk about in my Folk of the Air discussion, you literally don't have to read The Wicked King to read this trilogy. Like you can deadass just like skip The Wicked King. Maybe read like the last 2 chapters. The last 2 chapters are important, which is the best part of the book, by the way. But that's it. Just read Cruel Prince, last 2 chapters of Wicked King, then you can go on to Queen of Nothing, because nothing that happens in The Wicked King contributes to the overall story arc. A complete waste of time. Nothing plays out in Queen of Nothing. Oh, it's so sad. And I talk about the fact that The Wicked King is the downfall of the trilogy in all immense detail in that video. Bad. And I was so disappointed because everybody was saying how much better The Wicked King is compared to The Cruel Prince. Where? In what universe is The Wicked King better than The Cruel Prince? There's no tension, there's no action, there's just no scheming, there's no interesting things going on ever. This book just ruined the trilogy for me. I would have loved the trilogy so much more if The Wicked King was just better. It's fine. I still really love The Cruel Prince, and I still have very high regards for it in my mind. It's just this book just ruined it as a whole for me. Now my number 1 most disappointing read of the year is the most disappointing because it was also my most anticipated read of 2019, and that is Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. To Kill a Kingdom was my favorite read of 2018. This is Alexandra Christo's sophomore novel. I was so excited for this. I love Alexandra Christo's writing. I love her world building ability. I loved her banter. Oh, her banter is her banter is honestly on par with Leigh Bardugo. I know that's very high praise, but To Kill a Kingdom is just so good in its character interactions. That's the highlight of the entire book. Into the Crooked Place? I don't know where Alex went, but she's not here anymore. She is not in this book whatsoever. The only thing that was kind of in this book was the banter. I don't know what the hell she wrote, what was going on, what was going through her head. It did not transfer on page. Bear with me because I barely can even describe this book. I also DNF'd this about like 25% in because I just could not do it anymore. This takes place in a world where magic used to be active and a prominent part of the community, and it kind of still is, but there isn't any new magic because there was a war and all of the crafters who created new magic were killed, except now this mob boss guy does have crafters, and he has crafted this new magic that when people ingest makes them extremely violent and crazy and they eventually die. Does that sound familiar? It kind of does, really does. And we follow a band of characters as they try to come together to take down this mob boss guy. This was Six of Crows. I am not one of those people who like to compare books. I really don't like to, especially because The Gilded Wolves is one of my favorite books of the year, and we know how comparing directly to Six of Crows, what happened to the Gilded Wolves during that. But like with that, it's not a proper comparison whatsoever. Into the Crooked Place though, yeah, I mean the exact plot of Six of Crows is in Into the Crooked Place. Both involve this crazed magic system that when ingested, they go crazy violent and they eventually die. Direct correlation that isn't just, oh, it's a group of characters who are going on a heist. Like, that is not a basis for a comparison, but if your core plot matches up, I mean, it's pretty similar, right? The writing wasn't good, the world building non-existent, like the world build, I loved the world building in To Kill a Kingdom because To Kill a Kingdom is also a fairy tale retelling, but everything was unique. Like, Alexandra Christo did create a new world. It's a very much an adventure story, and we visit multiple countries, and each of the countries has different customs, have different lore, so we get that world building factor in To Kill a Kingdom. So I was like, alright, well, in a completely organic and unique world. Like, she'll have no problem creating this world, right? No, it was so convoluted and weird, and it didn't make sense, and the magic system just, again, didn't make sense. When looking at the two pieces of literature by her, there's no correlation. It baffles my mind that it's by the same author, and for that, it is my most disappointing read of the year, and I'm still really hurt and sad about it. Alright, you guys, so that is it for this video. Let me know down below what your most disappointing read of the year was, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'm posting every single day in the last 2 weeks of December. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!